They say as the largest retailer in the world, Walmart has the responsibility to have a higher standard in the distribution industry.
In a video which emerged but hasn't been published to the public yet, and he's accused of participating in this illicit activity.
The subway on Broadway also left in the lurch. Some customers support their right to protest, but...
And if you were wondering why you haven't heard much about this historic trial from the news today, here's why.
And with that, we are back again. Oh, wait a second. There we are. Hi there. I'm Darren Howard.
I'm Robert Nisbet.
And I'm Kendra Cooper.
We are back again with the other side of the story. Those things that major media is not covering. Why? Because they're major media and we're not. Thank you for joining the Conscious Revolution as we talk about activism and run those news stories the major media is just too scared to run. Why?
The media that's sponsored by the major corporations?
Yes. Those reporters paid for by Walmart. So we got this.
Southern California workers are walking the picket line again, demanding that the American multinational retail corporation, Walmart, take action to improve their working conditions. Workers first went on strike 6 months ago, which led to additional warehouse worker strikes in Illinois and Walmart store worker strikes in dozens of other cities across the U.S.
Workers say since that first strike there have been some slight improvements in the working conditions in these Walmart contracted warehouses, but workers say they are still facing retaliation tactics, including demotions, a reduction in hours, and terminations.
Warehouse workers say 100% of the merchandise that flows through their facility goes to Walmart stores. They say as the largest retailer in the world, Walmart has the responsibility to have a higher standard in the distribution industry. Walmart officials say they're responding to employee complaints by making surprise visits to the warehouses. Officials with Warehouse Workers United say conditions have improved to some extent, but Walmart continues to silence their voice. Workers plan to use this latest strike to build momentum for what they're calling a ride for respect. The event would be a caravan across the country to Walmart's headquarters in Arkansas. Workers will take their concerns directly to the executives and shareholders at the company's annual meeting.
It's crazy that we have to do things like this, but it's to call attention to the fact that these workers have a right to do this, and while some of them can't risk doing it themselves, we're out here to support them.
Labor groups are pushing Walmart to provide a minimum salary of $25,000 per year for full-time workers. They say with more than $16 billion in annual profits, the company can certainly afford it. Ross Frazier, Press TV, Los Angeles.
And this is some of the most interesting news because remember, 25% of the Americans' groceries are going through Walmart right now.
That's scary.
You know? And we can vote with our pocketbooks and we can make sure that we don't shop at Walmart, which might actually be a solution here.
Yeah.
What do you think? Yes?
Yeah.
No?
Well, I'm all for that.
Stand with the strikers. They know that labor is key.
Yes.
You know?
And you can overthrow the system by not showing up at work or not going there and making sure you protest with your pocketbook. The one thing that I'm interested in, maybe they should start doing this for fast food. Boy, I wish we had a clip on that.
Oh, wait.
Wait, we do!
In front of fast food restaurants on Seattle's Capitol Hill, a whopper of a protest played out on the sidewalk.
Hey, ho, ho. These low wages have to go.
At this Broadway Qdoba, 3 employees served up some bad news to their manager by walking off the job.
Well, she was kind of a deer in the headlight. She was very surprised.
They sang the same tune in the U District.
All we want is a fair day.
At some restaurants, 1 or 2 workers walked out. At this Burger King in Lake City Way, a sign said all the employees left. The subway on Broadway also left in the lurch. Some customers support their right to protest, but question the rationale.
If I knew I'm gonna make $9.19 an hour and I'm taking the job, that's your decision.
These low wages have to go.
Are these workers asking too much?
$1 deluxe, a large Coke, and a chocolate shake.
We went to Seattle's own homegrown burger joint to ask.
People should be paid as much as employers can afford to pay.
Dick's Burgers is known for paying higher wages, $10 to $12 an hour, and benefits. But they say their financial burdens differ from other fast food chains.
So we don't have to pay franchise fees. We don't have to advertise very much.
We know of at least 2 restaurants that were forced to shut down because of these demonstrations. The Burger King on Lake City Way. We also just heard of the Taco Bell that was forced to shut down last night in Ballard. The rest of the restaurants so far managed to stay open. These folks now are going to be going on the move. They are marching from here. We've heard over to the nearby McDonald's. There may be a few streets that are blocked along the way. We'll keep you updated on that along the way. Reporting live in Seattle, Alyssa Hahn, King 5 News.
Now, stories of that make me smile.
Especially when the non-franchise restaurant is doing very well.
Yeah.
And paying benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you listen to it, okay? The owner said it straight out. I don't pay franchise fees.
Yeah.
Okay, and I don't have to pay advertising because we have a quality product. And he's paying more than McDonald's. The whole McDonald's walked out. Did you see that?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm dancing around the studio, mostly because, man, these poverty-level employers, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, okay, come on, grow up.
I mean, it's not a choice when you choose because you're choosing between starvation or getting a job, and that, that's slavery.
Yes, paid indentured slavery.
And when there's no good jobs, the only jobs are service jobs.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you going to do?
We have 50% unemployment right now. If you do not, well, actually, even if you have a college education, welcome to the minimum wage world. And then these employers turn around and say, well, we can't afford while they buy $1 million houses and blah, blah, blah. If you ever take a look at the stock market at McDonald's, they promise if you buy a McDonald's, you're going to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
And then they show you how. It's kind of insulting at best. What do you got?
Well, Canadians get upset about some things, too, especially when their mayor of the largest city in Toronto acts out a bit.
Is this that crack thing?
This is that crack thing.
Well, Canadian protesters turn out in Toronto to push ahead with their demands for the resignation of the city's mayor.
You are fired! You are fired! You are fired! You are fired!
Protesters want Mayor Rob Ford to step down over an alleged video that apparently shows him smoking crack cocaine. Ford has denied the video exists, accusing the media of stoking a scandal. The mayor has refused to answer questions about the scandal in his most recent news conferences. Ford has said that he will not step aside and that he is planning to seek re-election. To get the latest on that, we're now joined by Joshua Blakeney, Press TV's correspondent, who's joining us live now from Calgary. Now, Joshua, things only seem to be getting worse for Ford.
He's perceived to be a kind of loutish, boorish kind of man who's more concerned with where the nearest pub is than with the needs of his electorate. And here he stands accused of having used what journalists have said appears to have been crack cocaine in a video which emerged but hasn't been published to the public yet. And he's accused of participating in this illicit activity, and yet he's not responding to the questions of journalists. And this is, of course, mirrors what we've seen with the Harper government, where there's this non-responsiveness. They sort of do outrageous things and then refuse to respond to the media when they ask critical questions. And so the people are seething with rage yet again at the political establishment in this country, and they've taken to the streets of Toronto to express their disgust at the fact that the mayor of Canada's biggest and most prominent and important city is not willing to respond to highly explosive allegations.
All right, Joshua, thanks a lot for that update.
However, what we've seen, like Mike Duffy, Stephen Harper, none of these guys admit they're wrong. None of these guys owe up and are responsible. And it's all about ducking reporters.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Harper's a hermit.
Yeah.
Should we make a T-shirt that?
Hermit Harper?
Hermit Harper?
Harper the Hermit? One of the reasons why I love working around here, just moments of inspiration like that one. Yes, indeed. I see a poster coming in the future.
Yes.
I mean, the protesters are holding him accountable, which is what is really important, because I think that these politicians get where they need to be on the hierarchy and they think they have it.
Yeah.
And they don't need to be transparent. They don't need to be accountable. They're already where they need to be, and they don't have to answer to you. And that's how they think.
That is their mentality, the mentality of entitlement. You don't know how it is the end result. We do know how it is, though. We have the internet. Okay? We know that. Look at this guy, too. His staffers, they're doing a report on his addictions And that's what unturned the video.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about the fact that there was an existing statement amongst his own staffers saying, dude, you got to get your addictions under control.
Yeah.
But there we have Rob Ford not even talking in public about the fact that he's messed in the head.
And his staff has just deserted him. He's lost 6 in the past week.
Yeah. You know it. But, sinking ship. Yes, Bradley Manning?
Yeah,
real quick. Okay.
More than 3 years after he was arrested in Iraq and accused of the biggest leak of classified military documents in U.S. history, Private First Class Bradley Manning is finally getting his day in court today. The 25-year-old former intelligence officer is facing 22 charges, ranging from possession and transfer of documents to violating the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act to his most serious charge, aiding the enemy. If he is found guilty, Manning could spend the rest of his life behind bars. And if you were wondering why you haven't heard much about this historic trial from the news today, here's why.
It has been thousands and thousands of years since the woolly mammoth walked across the face of the earth. But guess what? It could soon return.
Up next, Road Warriors, what happens when a former president pedals 100 kilometers in 3 days. We'll talk to the only reporter who went biking with this guy. It's Bush and some veterans.
I know you have seen the internet sensation known as Grumpy Cat. Well, it seems success hasn't gone to this kitty's head.
We've got new photos surfacing of the bloody crime scene where Olympian Oscar Pistorius shot his girlfriend a few months ago. They show that blood-spattered bathroom in which Riva Steenkamp was shot.
Well, if there's one thing we know now, it's that the news is really in the eye of the beholder. But Bradley Manning's trial will no doubt make it into the history books. Whether that much can be said about Oscar Pistorius or Grumpy Cat depends on who is writing those history books.
Boy, they got that one down right.
Yeah.
The Americans are scared of the truth.
Yeah, and I mean, this trial is about him giving information to terrorists by putting things on the internet. And what does that open doors to?
But he's giving it to the general public.
Well,
and does that mean that the general public are terrorists?
Well, that's exactly it. And saying that just because you post something on the internet that the terrorists are going to see it, so that turns the trial towards the internet.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So now the internet is a terrorist.
The New York Times and the L.A. Times publish these articles as well.
I mean, does that make them terrorists too? But wait a second.
Oh, wait.
We are on a list because we are independent media.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. We got more coming up. I'm Darren Howard.
I'm Robert Nisbet.
And I'm Kendra Cooper.
It is so good to have you along as the world wakes up and you realize people are out in the streets making a difference. And that's where you can make a difference. Make sure you get out on the street. Don't just be popular on the internet. Remember, it's people in action that are changing things. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Since 1971, when President Nixon took the United States off what was left of the gold standard, the world has operated under a system of money called fiat. The dollar, the pound, the euro are all government fiat currencies. Fiat is a Latin word meaning let it be so. It is the law that this government currency be money. Indeed, without that legal enforcement, and the fact that we must pay taxes in this money, that dollar bill or that computer digit that represents a dollar would be pretty much meaningless. Only the government has the power to issue fiat money, but banks can create it through lending. If somebody wants to borrow $10, a bank can create it from nowhere and lend it. It can then charge interest. Banks also create money by lending against an asset, such as a house. They're given the deeds to the house, and they create the money out of nowhere and lend it, at interest, of course. But who benefits? Of course, those that have the power to issue money, governments and banks. They haven't had to do anything productive, they just create money. However money is created, be it through lending, fractional reserve banking, financial bailouts, or old-fashioned money printing, banks are always at or near the top of the money-issuing pyramid. In reality, this process of creating money only redistributes wealth from the bottom to the top of the pyramid. And thus that ever-increasing gulf between rich and poor gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Canada used to have what is called a social safety net. That net used to consist of welfare and UI checks, and it ensured that people would not have to steal to live. But now there are no effective social safety nets left, except for the richest of the rich. How does it work? Well, it's pretty simple. Major corporations are awarded subsidies, tax breaks, and eased regulations, and you are not. Not convinced? Just remember that you pay 65% of your wages in taxes, and Canadian banks, corporations, pay no taxes at all. But things are changing. From Egypt to Toronto, from Victoria to Halifax, people are winning battles by standing up for what is right. People like me and you. On January 28th, we are asking you to go to your city hall at 12 noon all across the country. Spread this video around and stand up against corporate welfare and get our safe streets back in an effective way.